A wild turn of events has happened in the recruitment of Jason Crowe Jr. Once I think we all looked at him as a Kentucky lock, and now it looks like he's heading to Missouri. Decision is still not yet been made by Crowe, happening on the 18th, but you look at the writing in the sand, it looks like he's heading to Columbia, Missouri. We're going to talk about that today. We have about 15 different topics today. Football, talk about the new quarterback. We're going to talk about what Cam Williams and Jaden Quains had to say today. A lot to run through on today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, publisher over at Kentucky Wildcats on SI. Joined, as always, by Carson Nash. Carson, how was the lake this weekend? You were down in North Carolina visiting some friends, family friends. How was that? Was it a good time?
Yeah, it was awesome. The weather was fantastic the whole time. And, we had a great weekend celebrating America and ourselves.
Of course. It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend here. We grilled on Friday. And then Saturday played some beer die, some Sprite die. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun weekend.
Who was the winner there?
I'm just so nasty at beer die. I've decided I think that we need to drop everything and see if we can just go pro in that, because I love that. That's the most fun game in the world. If you don't know what beer die is, go look it up. It's the most fun game I think in the world. Genuinely, it's my favorite thing to play in the world. I love playing beer die. But yeah, Cameron and Luke got just crapped on for 7 hours. I mean, it was a good day for me. Good day. Played well. But
Attaboy.
Carson, this Jason Crowe Jr. recruitment has been one of the weirder ones we've seen in a while. And I kind of think that's because it did seem like he was going to Kentucky. And then Joe Tipton drops that bomb yesterday, kind of says, hey, or a couple days ago says, hey, Kentucky's no longer the front runner, a new SEC school. Turns out that SEC school is Missouri. And now there's a crystal ball. Is it Branham?
Travis Branham.
And he's not wrong often. That dropped the crystal ball that he's picking Crowe to go to Missouri. And it's a weird recruitment, Carson. And once again, it was, Coach Hart and Crowe are real tight. It just seemed like this kid was going to Kentucky. And when he officially commits to Missouri, when it happens, there's going to be a lot of noise about Kentucky and a lot of crap talk and a lot of fun poking and a lot of people saying, oh, Mark Poking. Just what are your thoughts on all this before we kind of dive deeper into that side of it?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two sides to this story, right? So you got Pope not being able to close out on a top 5 recruit he pretty much looked Kentucky bound since the day he stepped on since we got Jason Hart, pretty much. And then it flips this past weekend. And then I think it was either today or yesterday, Travis Branham literally just put in the pick. So it looks a lot like Missouri, but I mean, we got until the 18th. So there's 10 more days. And like we say on this podcast all the time, recruiting is fluid. So you never truly know until the last minute what a recruit's going to do. But the flip, I have to feel like it's due to money and NIL, just because, I mean, I hate to be a hater on Missouri, but you don't just commit to a coach who's gone 0-17 in the SEC conference in a season before as the number 5 recruit. But I think I don't know. And it's a new era of college as well, because Pope's trying to sell a system and not just like a NBA fantasy camp like we had prior. So it could be different. It could be, hey, I want to use these funds that we were going to pay Crowe to get better players within the transfer portal. So I think there's both sides to that story.
I agree. And I agree. There's not on what you said about the NIL stuff. And it's interesting because this has been one of those things that while it's happened, there hasn't been a big why. I think, once again, to throw the writing in the sand at you again, I think that it is, what else would it be? What else would make sense? Why would he be Kentucky bound? And I was like, this is what happens. You see this happen a lot. You see a kid going somewhere, and I mean, this is pretty much exactly what happened with Caleb Wilson, but at least he went to a blue blood school and not freaking Missouri. But they come in with a week later and say, hey, here's $7 million, come play for us. And it's tough to turn that down. It is. And, and I think that Coach Pope looked at it. I bet Crow came back to him and goes, hey, they upped the offer that y'all threw at me by $500K or whatever, right? He came out, Coach Pope, and said that probably. And Coach Pope, I assume, was like, okay, because first of all, there's a good chance unless Low goes pro that you've got a multiple year starting point guard in Jaylen Low. And if I'm a recruit, I look at that stuff too. I say to myself, well, hey, you know what? I mean, they might have Low for a couple years. If Jasper comes back, they've got a 2-guard there again. I mean, you can kind of look at it as that as well. I mean, at Missouri, if you're a 5-star top 10 player, you're going to go be the best player on the team. And then you're probably going to average 15 or 16. You're going to go pro. And then that's that. When
you're going to get 30 shots a game.
Yeah. When you come to Kentucky, especially this year's team or next year's team, you're going to be on a really good basketball team where you're not going to be scoring that many points and you're not going to be getting that many shots and you're not going to be getting that many minutes. You're going to be fighting for it. So I guess I can see where I can see that side of it of like, well, you go to Missouri and shoot 24 times a game and average 15 points and go in the first round. Sure. But because we are now, once again, Carson, I think you have to look at the differences from the Calipari to the Pope era. In Calipari was getting 5, 6, 7 5-stars, and that was the starting lineup. These recruits are coming in to fight for a starting spot. But I mean, once again, Jasper might not start. He's a 5-star that might not start for us this year. Same with Malachi. Malachi was a McDonald's All-American. That's the reality. I mean, there are no guaranteed starting spots for these 5-stars that there were during the Calipari era. And I think that's how fans, we're all we're still used to it. We're still used to the Calipari era, I think, for a little bit longer, to where it's like, we have to realize the 5-stars might not come as often because of that, because Pope's going to have multiple year guys. He's going to have the transfers. And I think that's something to remember.
No, that's a great point. I completely agree with you there. And I mean, that's kind of the way the full college basketball landscape has been, right? I mean, if you look at the past 5 Final Fours, it's all been senior-led teams. It's not been really high-paid NIL freshmen. I guess Cooper Flag and Duke was the other team that was a standout team. But, I mean, they didn't win. They didn't make it to the even championships game. So, I think it's going to be a lot more older player transfer portal. We're going to put our funds into this more than it'll be, hey, we need to spend tons of money on these next up-and-coming recruits, because nowadays you don't see guys who are I guess you could say Cooper Flag's generational. I don't feel that way. I'm not even necessarily.
But who is generational?
I think John Wall. I think Anthony Davis.
Within this year's draft class, Carson, you got to bring up your point.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was getting ready to say that. I don't even feel – I didn't feel like he was the best player in the draft class, and I go on record to say that he isn't. I think Trey Johnson. I said Trey Young. Yeah, he's terrible too. Trey Johnson from Texas. He's that guy in this draft class for me. But, yeah, like I was saying, it's going to be more veteran-led teams that are older and – have actually a system that they play through to go and win the national championship.
I'm trying to see if Trey Johnson, I guess he hasn't played a game yet. No, he has a game. I'm excited to watch that, to see what happens with the Carson Nash take of
it's been my calling card that even last season.
Yeah, he's been playing that for a long time. So I'm excited to see. I'm rooting for that one. That'll be a fun one. But you tweeted that, right? You got to make sure that you tweeted that. I think you did a while back, so you can just look like a genius in like 3 years if you're right. That'd be great. But I want to talk more about this recruiting stuff, because I'll tell you this, folks. For our Kentucky fans here, when this kid does pick Missouri, people are going to bash Mark Pope and bash Kentucky. That's coming. That's going to happen. That's a guarantee. That's a certainty. I promise you, that's coming. And they're going to tell you the same thing we've been hearing for weeks. You can only recruit Kentucky for a year now. He can only recruit these Kentucky kids. Now, I'll tell you this. I wanted to get to this point. The the well of Kentucky basketball talent will eventually dry up. I mean, it is.
I was going to say, it's hard not to recruit Kentucky when you have a bunch of 5-stars that play here.
Exactly. And you're exactly right. So we got Kenny and Stokes are both Kentucky kids in this class right now. You know, obviously we got 2 5-stars right now that are Kentucky kids. Then you had, Perry and Noah come in from the class before. We obviously know Reed Shepherd came. I mean, this is probably, and some of those that have been around, some of you folks that have been around watching, Kentucky basketball for a long time. Correct me if there was something in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but I mean, I think this is one of the best stretches of Kentucky-born talent that has come to Kentucky we've seen in the while, especially if you get Kenny and Stokes, especially then. But that is going to dry up eventually. I mean, it's not going to, maybe it's just not going to. It's not how it works. I mean,
not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. So if Pope's going to keep recruiting high school guys, he's going to have to start dipping outside of these state lines. And, that's something I want to see Mark Pope land a top 10 recruit has no Kentucky ties. Partially because I want to make sure he can do it. We keep saying we think he can do it, and we do believe that. I'm not concerned about it yet.
I think he'll get one in this class. And I kind of wanted to play a little game with you. Like, since don't pick a Kentucky guy, but who do you think is the highest percentage that will commit here that's not from Kentucky?
You mean the highest player in the class?
No. Like who do you think will commit here the most if you were to feel good about one of them coming here? Like one of the top players that's not from Kentucky, like Muranen, Caleb Holt, Anthony Thompson, like any of those guys.
Maybe Thompson. I don't feel good about the Mika kid right now. I don't know. I've seen we're not out of it, but I think we're behind. So let me hear. Let's pull up. I'm gonna pull up the top recruits. So what would your answer be?
I think with this news, I feel better about Caleb Holt. And I feel a lot better about Taylon Kenny now after this news. You can go all in on Taylon Kenny as your guard if Jason does end up going to Missouri. And then you can kind of sell him as a package deal with Stokes and then kind of get Caleb Holt in there as well because he's like the 2 to their 1 and 3. So that would be a good little class with those 3 guys and then fill up any spots on the front line with the transfer portal.
Yeah. I'm pulling up the players that we've offered in this 2026 class. I mean, I do feel a lot better about Kenny now, like you said. I mean, if we, of course, don't end up landing Crowe, I feel better about what's going to happen with Kenny. I feel better about our shot there. I think we're going to, and I wrote an article about that. I think that we're going to go all in on him if Crowe does end up picking Missouri. I think we're going to go all in on Kenny. But I think it could happen in this class too, Carson. That's what you just got done saying. I think Coach Pope could get that top 10 guy in this class because while we're behind for the kid like the Muranen kid, and we're in that race for Holt. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we're in the race for. I think Pope's going to get the job done this go round. I really do think.
Well, we just got a lot more NIL money set aside if we don't get Jason Crowe Jr. So
exactly,
got to go somewhere.
And I just think that Mark Pope can recruit. He can, but I also think what we've got to understand, and this isn't going to feed into the narrative of those folks saying, "Oh, Pope can't recruit." They don't care. But the reality is, and what does matter is, he has a way he wants to build a roster. The exact way he did it this year. The kids he recruited just happened to be 2 5-stars from this state. He got 2 5-stars. He got a bunch of great transfers, and he retained some elite talent from his team last year. That's how Mark Pope wants to build a roster. His team next year, it's going to look similar. We think Ortega and Cam Williams and Quaintance and are all going to go pro, and maybe Jasper and maybe, BG, whatever. You're going to have those guys go pro. Then you're going to have your returners. Maybe Low puts together an all-SEC season, and we're kind of going, come on, Low, come back. And he's your point guard. There's your elite returner. We go get 3, 4, 5 guys in the portal, bring in a couple guys, bring in a couple guys to get the in that freshman class, and that's your roster right there. So I don't think, I guess
And that's
what
how
I'm
you build a
saying is,
championship team, because I mean, if you look at the best teams in history, that you always have one of those. Like,
yeah,
go back to that UConn team. They had a super talent in Castle, right? And even won the rookie of the year. And then you had Klingon, who stayed the next year. There's your elite returner. And then you had, what was it? Cam Spencer was their point guard.
yeah.
Yeah. And he had been there for a while. So you have
And
veterans.
Caravan, veteran, good
Yeah,
player.
you have veteran guys that stick around for a while, but you also have your super talents and your elite returners. So you got to have all those positions filled to be a elite team, in my opinion.
And this Kentucky team has that. And once again, I think that will be the blueprint going forward for Kentucky basketball teams. So I'm not freaking out over losing Crowe, because I think Pope knows Crowe's a great player. Wish him the best. Seems like a good kid. No, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's the reality. I don't know why, but I'm not as angry at him as I was with like Caleb Wilson. I don't know why, but I'm like,
It's because Caleb Wilson was so in the media about everything. He was
Yeah.
always like, hashtag BBN, what's good? Like,
yeah,
he was like, this is my dream lineup, and literally named Jasper, Malachi, and a Caden at the time he was still committed here that he wanted to play with in college. And so it was like, what are we doing?
yeah. Oh, here's some breaking news. SGA is going to be on the cover of 2K.
Oh, nice.
Former
Congrats to
Kentucky
SGA.
Wildcat. That's pretty
Probably
cool.
first Wildcat since AD in 2013.
With the Pelicans, he was on it, right?
Yeah,
Pelicans,
but it was like a trio. This is some ball knowledge. I think it was Steph Curry, James Harden, and Anthony Davis.
What year was
It was like a 3-cover one.
You remember what year it was?
2013, 2K13.
Let's see. It was. No, that's not the right one I'm looking at then. 2K13 was Griffin, KD, and D Rose.
Maybe it was 2012. One of the years he was on there. I forget.
I think 2012 was the throwback.
Or 2014. I don't know. He was on there.
He was on it in 2016, but he was by himself. No, he wasn't. There it is. At the top, it says Curry, Davis, and James Harden, but then the pictures are just Anthony Davis.
No, it's all three of them. There must have been two covers for it.
Yeah, interesting. Well, okay, that is, you were correct. You were right about that. Ball knower. So cool for SGA. Good. Yeah, I love SGA because the reason I like him as a superstar, obviously went to Kentucky, but he's just, he's not doing anything stupid. He's got a wife that he's been with forever. He's a good guy. Like, he's not doing stupid stuff where he's getting in trouble or anything. I like that he's doing
back up to Quade Green, most famous for.
Yeah, it's crazy. Still to this day. But so that's our thoughts on recruiting. If you've got any thoughts there, let us know. We're not freaking out over it yet because, once again, Mark Pope knows what he was doing. If he felt he needed to go all in after this kid, we could have done it. I don't think he felt he needed to do that. The relationship was there. If Pope wanted it, I believe that. Some will say if Pope wanted Jason Crowe Jr. here and felt that it was do or die, he would have gotten him here because he would have matched the NIL offer. And I just think at the end of the day, Coach Pope knew we'll find something. We'll be okay.
100%.
So those are our thoughts there. This might be a conversation that we have again if we kind of get 3 months down the road and we're kind of going like, it could be a revisit type of conversation, but let us know y'all's thoughts on this right now. But Carson, you want to give quick thoughts on the new quarterback for the Wildcats that we just got?
Yeah, it was Matt Ponatowski.
Yeah.
Ponatowski.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's Ponatowski. He's a super stud, right? I mean, he competed in the Elite 11 and was pretty dang good in the Elite 11. And he's a top 20 overall baseball recruit, which is nuts. Like he's good at football, but he's like elite at baseball. So, and that's as fun as he's going to be to talk about. And his tape is remarkable. He's got a cannon. He throws 97 across the diamond, which is unreal. So, he spins the ball with that kind of power too. And it showed at the Elite 11, but we're going to have to monitor him leaving early for the MLB draft, which could definitely happen because, like I said, as good as he is in football, he's like 2 times that in baseball.
I'm going to try and see what I can to get him connected on LinkedIn with Summerall. I'm working on that. I'm currently working on that. Because please don't let him be our DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
Because that means that we no. But no, all kidding aside, you all know we like to bash Coach Dupes, but he's motivated. He's doing okay on the recruiting trail. But
yeah,
I think this kid's a good football player, great baseball player, really good baseball player, good quarterback too. Like you said, you went to that Elite 11. I saw he was a standout every time, MVP. I think of one of the days. He's just a talented, good quarterback. We haven't seen a ton of success with Kentucky recruiting quarterbacks and it working out lately. I mean, all of our success. We've had a transfer quarterback the last 10 years. I mean, you know what I mean? Like be the starter day one.
It's been a while.
So I'd love to see us recruit a quarterback and it go well. That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that happen, and I think
my favorite
good enough to make that happen.
My favorite thing he said was he wanted to get drafted like Kyler Murray in both sports. So
yeah,
that shows that he at least wants to go to college right now. So that's my thing too. You pick Kentucky over some of these blue bloods of college football, like Alabama. You gotta have to want to go there for a reason. So that it excites me. And I think all in all, I think he'll end up in the blue and white. And I think he's probably the best prospect we've had in a very, very long time. It's super exciting.
I mean, I'm fully with you. I really am. I'm with you on that. I think the kid's going to be pretty darn good down the road. So
and he helps in both sports. Like it's a win-win because in baseball you added a phenomenal player, a top 20 overall player. And then in football, you add a top 11 overall quarterback in his class. So that's a win-win for both programs. And super exciting times at UK to have a dual sport athlete like that.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. It's just fun stuff. It's fun to have a guy that you get to root for on, both different times of the year. It's definitely a cool thing to look at. But and talking a little bit about what JQ and Cam Williams had to say today, and I won't dive super deep into that, but I mean, JQ talked about the injury. I mean, he didn't say anything that I wouldn't have expected him to say. It's going well. He's working hard. He's getting back. You just didn't want to hear. We've had a couple setbacks, but you just didn't want to hear the word setback. There was no word setback. I think that's going well for him. I think he's coming. He's doing well to be on the schedule that Carson and I have talked about. Maybe not game one, maybe not the Louisville game, but he'll be back, before SEC play. That's the timetable we're hoping for and we're looking for. And then when it comes to Cam Williams, he talked about how good of a shooter he is, and we've been saying that for
sounds like me.
Time. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about Carson loves to tell you how good of a shooter he is. I just think that Cam Williams is going to be a stud. The way he talks, what I liked about it is, people were telling him like, oh, maybe not a lot of fans knew your name when you got here and all that. And you committed the day of the Sweet 16 game, but now you're in a mock draft at 16 overall, or whatever. It's like he knows how good he is. I like that. None of that's like, it wasn't like, it's a surreal feeling to see my name. He's just like, I believe it. And once again, I mean, you don't have to try and convince Carson and I, Mr. Cam Williams, because we know how good you're going to be. This is like the biggest I've laid a stake to a claim. I think you and I, Carson, we are all in. If you could buy stock on his NBA career right now, I would do that. I would make it like a future investment. Like give me $400 on Cam Williams to be an all-star before 2030. Give me that now.
Oh no, he's got all the tools imaginable to be an insane NBA player.
Yeah, and he's just a good guy. Like he talked about how his dad taught him to shoot, and that was funny. He talked about how his dad's been interacting with BB, and Carson, we had that tweet about Cam Williams that Mr. Williams retweeted, and that went around, and that was
Dennis a heart too. So back at you, Mr. Williams.
We do love you, Mr. Williams, and we think your son is awesome. But I'm really excited about Cam Williams, and JQ. It's just all about getting him back healthy. And what I heard from both those guys, same thing. The defense is going to be a lot better on this basketball team. The defensive intensity is going to be really, really good for the Kentucky Wildcats this year. I think we're inside the top 20 defensively in KenPom with a shot to be inside that top 10. I think that's how good we're going to be defensively. And every player that the media has now heard from, I think that's just about everybody, honestly. Maybe it is everybody. I think about it. But is reiterated how good we're going to be defensively. And that's exciting because it just didn't cut it last year. And it's frustrating because we've had 2 back-to-back great offensive teams kind of killed by defense in the NCAA tournament, with the loss to Golke and then the loss last year to Tennessee in the Sweet 16 where we struggled defensively. I want to have a good defensively because we know we're going to be good offensively. I'm not worried about that. We just need some defense to be right there with that offense. And I think we're going to have that this year.
Yeah, defense only helps on offense. I mean, all the turnovers that you can create equal free points for us, especially the way that Mark Pope likes to run a game. He likes to press, push pace. So the more turnovers and the faster the game goes only helps us.
And then I want to run through a little fun thing here. I wrote an article about this today, and I texted this to Carson and Boff, and I want to get y'all's thoughts. And Carson, I'm gonna read you what I finished with, and then you tell me where you would add. The EA Sports announced that they're going to do a new college basketball game, which is very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. That's those EA Sports games are nostalgia for people. Me and Carson.
Yeah, that one had Blake Griffin on it. That one was probably the best game ever.
Yeah,
that was right when John Wall got here with DeMarcus Cousins.
That's like the best nostalgia is those games. The football, even the baseball one. I played that one a lot. I mean,
yeah, I got the new football one. I've been rocking that one already.
Yeah, is a lot of fun. I feel bad for our punter who's got a 0 toughness.
Yeah, dude, that's ridiculous.
It's pretty funny though. But so I gave all of our players an overall ranking, like an overall rating for just overall. Not we could take it deeper into like passing, shooting, defense, but just today we're going overall. And I'm gonna read the player. I'm gonna tell you what my score is, Carson, and you tell me if you would go up or down or you like it where it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've got Owe at 94, highest on the team.
Yeah, I like that
because you just don't see a lot of 98, 99s.
No, and I feel like if you're making a college game, you should probably not. I mean, a lot of people are gonna hate that, but I don't think they should all be like 99s because you only get 99s every once in a blue moon in college.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with you there. So JQ, I've got at 90. I had him at 89. I think that you and Cam.
I think I talked you into that 90.
Yeah. For JQ.
Yeah. Cam and I was thinking it.
Yeah. And then I've got Mo D at 84. And I think that you that's where I think I had him at 83 and you boosted me up to 84 overall.
Yeah. That's right.
Low, I think I had at 84 and then you all talked to me into 85. So we ended at 85 there. You like him at 85?
No, I think he should be higher than 85.
Yeah, you said that's what it was. You said 87. I had him at 84. I took him up to 85.
Yeah, and
I think he got more to prove before he would get an 87. I think he could be an 87. But I think right now he's an 85 is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if you're looking like off of what those people will look at, they'll look at stats. And he averaged 16.6 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists or whatever. I just feel like his stats say
that's fair.
A different story.
That's fair. We'll give him an 86 then. We'll meet in the middle. There. We got Cam Williams. And now this is I've got him at 82. Now, you've got to understand this. I want to put him at a 90, but I'm talking about I'm genuinely was making this if they were making a game what I thought they'd be ranked. Cam Williams would be ranked like an 82 or an 83. I think that's a fact. I don't like it. I wouldn't agree with it, but I think that's the reality. What did you tell me to make him? You said to make him an 85. I think I took him from an 81 to an 82.
Anybody on draft boards should be an 85 plus.
I agree with you. I'm just saying but what do you genuinely believe that he'd be an 85 on that video game? I'm not saying what he should do.
I mean, if I were the maker of the game, I would look at his usage rate, his percentile and catch and shoot situations, what he averaged per every 40 minutes. You got to break it down farther than what they'll come up with. I think 85 is fair, and I think it could go up to 89. 90.
I do too. I just think that I bet it would be like an 82 just based on I don't think they do that.
Well, yeah, and they're haters. They'll hate on us.
I have
Seth
Aberdeen.
Greenberg will find out how to get into the game.
Yeah, I've got Aberdeen at 83. Any issues there?
I like that. I think he can. Any of these guys can prove themselves higher.
Yeah. I've got Jelic 79 just because we have no idea. We have no idea there. I think that's pretty fair. I think that's a fair one. I've got Colin Chandler at 80. Cool with that?
Yeah.
I've got Jasper at 82. Cam's texted and said 84 for Jasper. What do you think? Do you think 82 is too low, or do you think that's fair?
I think 83. I think meeting middle for you two.
And then I got Malachi at 80. I think that's pretty fair.
I like that.
I also forgot in this list that I texted you all, I forgot BG. But on the article I ended up writing about this, I put BG at 84 with Mo D. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah. I think he, just based off the numbers last year, you're right. I think if you got updated halfway through the season, maybe he's like an 87. But I think 84 is fair.
Yeah. I think the guys that take the biggest jumps in your ratings are Cam Williams. I think Denzel Aberdeen actually ends up being a lot better than 83. Yeah. I think Low at your 85, I think he'll end up being better than an 85 for sure. And Mo D, like 84, I think that's a little low for Mo D. I think he can improve that.
And then the last one I had Hawthorne at 77.
Hawthorne, people have been talking crazy about Hawthorne. But
I just don't think it's going to be this year. Just because I think we're so good already. Yeah. I don't think we need it to be this year. And then I have Potter at 74. I think that's fair.
Did you see what Hawthorne said the other day?
That he's not. Where did he say that?
Yeah.
I just saw people tweeting that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. I think people are just put something on a graphic because he didn't say that on the show. He hasn't spoken to the media yet. I mean, I don't know.
But I'm a journalist. I'm going to live and die by the clickbait. So let's just go ahead and say it. He said that I'm not leaving unless it's for the NBA draft, which would be huge for us if that's the case. Which, in my opinion,
Terry would have told you the same thing if you asked him.
Well, I know, and I love the memes. Like, that's a hilarious joke. But I also think that Pope is building something. Like, this isn't going to be a place where people just leave year in and year out of. Like, we saw a lot of returners from last year's team when a lot of them probably could have left. So I think this is Pope building a program, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I do. That's all I've got, Carson. We went through. We talked about Cam and JQ, what they had to say. We talked about quarterback. We talked about the recruiting stuff. Is there anything else that has happened that you want to run through?
No. It sucks that we're not getting Jason Crowe, but it's cool because, my mom doesn't like birds anyway, so.
Okay. Fair enough. I agree with you. And that's why, I just truly believe, and I don't think people say it's delusional. If Pope wanted them, he'd have raised the offer and gotten them. He
also has the chance of being a more sporadic Wade Taylor. He can be very inefficient at times, and he's labeled as a shot chucker. So that doesn't always necessarily work the best with the team trying to play through a system.
I agree with you, but to me, that's I agree with you. That's not my issue with him, and it's not that I don't have an issue with him. I guess it's more if Pope wanted them, I think he'd have gotten them. Missouri probably upped our offer by a few $100,000, maybe $1 million. If Pope felt this is do or die, life or death, he would have matched the offer and we'd have gotten them.
Or, as much as we don't know, it could be they're getting a coach who's somewhat closer to Jason Crowe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe they hired somebody, because we didn't find out till after the fact, because we were this is kind of feels like the Lamar Wilkerson situation where we thought he was a lock. Then he wasn't at the last second and he committed to Indiana. And then we find out 2 months down the line that they hired the Sam Houston State guy that helped coach Lamar. So it could be one of those situations too, because that does happen a lot.
It could be, but that's my take on it. Is I think he's a good player. Would have loved to have had him. Liked the whole story about the connection with him and Coach Hart. But at the end of the day, I think that if Coach Pope wanted them, we could have gotten them. Unless the reasoning wasn't money, it was he felt like he'd go and he'd be the number one guy and he'd get to do his shot chucking. To me, that's the only thing it could be that's not money related. I think, and I think that's pretty. I think we can all agree on that. So
yeah,
that's why
I think TK becomes a must get now.
Yeah. I agree. And I think we're going to, I saw the whole, he's wearing the Louisville shorts. I don't care. I think we're going to get him. That's kind of funny.
No, I think that's so funny because, he's not even a Louisville fan.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you. So any other thoughts, Carson, before we call it a day?
No, that's all I got. Hope everyone had a good 4th weekend. Hit that subscribe button for us. We're getting close. We want to get to that 3K at some point. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yep. Like Carson said, hit that button. That helps us out a ton. Hope everyone, like he said as well, had a great 4th of July. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. All that stuff helps us out a ton. Tell a friend, all of it. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you next time right here on the Wildcats Today podcast.